Um, as you recall, welcome to, first of all, week number 4. This is week 4 of Introduction to Corrections. Today is Monday, January the 24th. My name is Richard Wright, but you all already know that. But I'm very excited about this announcement I'm going to make. As you guys recall, a few weeks ago, I put out because Bethany Marston, who is the Learning Center Coordinator for the School of Justice Studies, asked me to ask my classes, particularly in this class, if there were any people that were interested in becoming student tutors and maybe even future ambassadors, but student tutors. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's very rewarding. It's a good thing to have on your application. And when you get ready to go to, if you went to graduate school and all that, it's also good. And it's also good for an employer to see that too as well. So um, with that taking place, um, I'm excited to mention that your classmate, Madison, has been hired as one of the tutors. So I don't, let's see, they have a thing that you can do applauses, so I'll just have to do it like that. you know, Congratulations, Madison. Um, uh, and I'm sure you will. There's an old song, and you could go back and look at it later, but it's not spelled the way your name is spelled. It's traditionally the way Madison, Madison. And if anybody live in Chicago, they know that the street that divides north from south in Chicago is State Street, but one of the streets that runs east and west is called Madison. It's on the yes, you know that one, Shannon. It's Madison Street, and those who are from New York know Madison Avenue. But anyway, there was a song that came out in the 50s, and you can Google it. It's Madison, Madison Time. And oh, you did? Oh, wow. Okay. You lived oh, okay. That's a loft area. Yeah, yeah, I know. I went to Roosevelt, Roosevelt University. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no place to park, but unless you have your own paid parking. But yeah, I used to have a law office right there uh, let's see, Jackson and Dearborn in the Monadnock building. You may know that building. One side is 53 West Jackson. No, one side is, yeah, 53 West Jackson, other 54 West Van Buren. You go in straight through the building. But yeah, yep, yes, right by UIC. Yep, right there in that area. So anyway, congratulations, Madison. We are I'm looking forward to great things. Um, a lot of my students, and by the way, those of you who are still interested, let me know. I think she's still looking for people. So uh, I don't think the deadline has passed. If you have a question about that, you can reach out to Bethany Marston. And I think her email is bethany.marston uh, at rasmussen.edu, or either you might be able to ask Madison. She might know if there's a deadline. But I'm always excited to have uh, students. That's it, it 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 really excites me. I've had many students down through the years who have become student tutors and people that I've had in my classes who have become student tutors and or ambassadors for the school. And so and you'll probably meet some of them because I think there's a couple that are still on there that have been in my classes before. So uh, excited, good news to hear. All right. Okay, guys, let's continue. let me share my screen here. And let's get started here. All right, so you can see this. There's the messages, the grade book discussions. Again, let's start out by looking at the calendar, as I always like to do, the month version. And you can see where the circle is. That's where we are today for the live lecture. Your initial post is due tomorrow night, and your reply post due Saturday. Your live classroom lecture phrase, which you guys have an advantage of being here. The three of you can get that right away. And then the quiz. As you know, you have 3 bites before the 30th. And to get that done, and the highest one is what counts. It doesn't average out. And then your written assignment, which I'll spend time talking about in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's get out of the calendar. Let's go back to content. Okay, let's look at the announcement. By the way, Madison would not be tutoring anybody in this class while she's in it. She would tutor people in other classes. They won't do that. That's a conflict of interest, because then you know, it creates an integrity issue, not for the students, but for the whole pro system, and we guard that very carefully. So she's able to do uh, let you know about the program and stuff like that, but she will continue on, hopefully till she graduates. So all right, so let's take a look at this week's announcement. Prisoner rights and evolution of probation. And to prepare for this, chapters 8 and 9. By the way, you saw probably the first email you got with the PowerPoint said it wasn't authorized. That's because they changed the system again on me. So I had to go back and send it another way, where if you click on the, open it up, you hit the little dots next to it. Unlike some of the things that you see in the module, it will open up the PowerPoint and you can download it and save it yourself as well. So chapters 8 and 9 of the textbook, and the activities, the law of corrections and prisoner rights. We're going to talk about that, Bill of Rights, community supervision, and so forth. We're going to deal with the role of the probation officer as well. Your discussion assignment, intermediate sanction, is due tomorrow night, and your reply post is due Saturday night. I want to clarify something that there was a student that did not understand, that when you submit your discussion posts, if you submit them late, you will lose a point from due date Tuesday. But if you issue a discussion post by Saturday, and then in kind you issue a discussion post on Sunday, you will get a point taken off for that reply post, and then of course you lose the points for the late submission on the initial post. But the point I'm making is that if you submit 2 good posts on Sunday, it's not going to count, because that's the rule that I had talked about earlier, and that's something that I do as a professor. Not too many do it, but I want to give you guys, in the golf terms, what we call a mulligan. That gives you an extra opportunity to gain points. And then also be sure that your your discussion posts are not good posts complimenting the person. No, I want you to elaborate. We want some critical thinking in there, because you won't get points for those kinds of posts. It'd be as if you didn't even submit a post. Complete the mid-quarter survey, which lets us know how you feel about the course so far. And I do want you to finish strong. So we're officially the second half. That means weeks 1 to 3. If you haven't gotten them in now, unless we've made arrangements, which I don't think I have anybody now that uh, has arrangements that have not worked with, I work with on it, um, that you can't submit them. Incidentally, those of you who submitted week 1 in the wrong format, such as a PowerPoint, or it wasn't a Word document, and you resubmitted it, you can still resubmit those. But I grade them. Usually I don't grade them until when I scrub the course. And when I say scrub the course, I usually do that right near the end of the course. Um, but sometimes if a person says, look, I just want to know where I'm at, and then I'll do it. I know I just opened up a can of worms by saying that, but if you really seriously want to know, then I can let you know. But the key thing is that that happened in week 1, where you were supposed to submit in Word, and some people did an infograph. They did all kinds of systems that uh, were not able to work within the system here. Okay, so don't worry about the week 1 stuff. Be concerned with the weeks that we have coming before us here. All right, so that's the announcement for this week. Okay, so let's get into Module 4, Prisoner Rights and Evolution of Probation. Let's talk first about the written assignment. Now, good people, hear me good and hear me well. There's always a statement that I'll make, or it's in here. You'll see the words APA. Somebody asked me, if it says APA, do I need a reference page? You can't do APA without a reference page, unless we tell you you don't need it. But you do need a reference page. You need citations, also referred to as credible sources, in the body of your paper. And there have been people who have gotten extremely low grades, like 55, because as soon as that happens, you don't have good information, because the information that makes your paper really good is covering all the issues, but importantly, providing the source in the body of the paper. Oh, but I put it as a reference. Not adequate. You put it in where it belongs, first in the body as a properly written citation. If it's a court case, you type out the official court case. You can find it. Most of them are U.S. Supreme Court cases, so it's pretty easy to do. But it's important that you do that and include that in your writings. And if you don't, you will see you will end up on the far right. And I can even tell you have good content, but I still got to put you over there because the rubric says that you belong over there. So you'll see what I'm talking about. And you should have seen already by the weeks that we've done it. But there's been people that came back and they said to me, but I gave the citation. I mean, I gave the reference. I said, no. I said citations in the body and references at the end. I teach that from day 1. And every student who has had me will come back and says, Professor Wright is really serious about APA. And because it goes to the academic integrity aspects of it, and it prepares you as a student to be able to go out into the field, where if you provide information, you provide to the reader the source of that information, giving credit to the individual or individuals or organization that provided that. And there are students that say, well, I'm citing I'm myself. You're not you're not what we consider as a credible source. You're a student. You're still studying it. And I myself, even as a professional, when I went to court or when I provided memos or anything, I provided the sources that I got that information because I conducted what we call research. Going through your module, going through your PowerPoint, going through your textbook and citing it is not research. Okay, we have a good library learning center that you guys are aware of that I've shared with you where to find that information. And it is very, very, very good. And so, and then don't use Wikipedia. I don't know if anybody in this class has. There's some people I know in some of my classes, they use Wikipedia. So anyway, that's how your grade can go up or drop drastically. Somebody said, well, God, if I put a lot of information in, but I don't have that, why does it drop? Because we grade by the rubric. I keep saying that. And the rubric tells you the consequences if you don't do that. Okay. So it's kind of like, I'll use the example of, I think his name was Djokovic, the tennis player who went to Australia. I think he was going to play in that tennis tournament, but that's a country that they're not tolerating it. And they said they're not. So he was trying to use his power and authority as this being the best tennis player. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kyrie Irving, like that, and some other good players in NFL and so forth. You got to follow, guys. You got to follow the rules, and you got to do. If the rule is something that you don't want to follow, then don't get into the area. That's it. So anyway, this scenario is written out here, and what you're going to do, you're going to basically provide information about what a probation officer does. And you're going to create a job announcement with citations in the body, and that are posted letting people know what the details of that position is. So you're going to create the announcement, double space, please, for me. That includes the following. Summarize the continuing of probation officer's duty, describe 4 roles. There are more than 4 roles for a probation officer, and include examples of what the probation officer is required to do in fulfilling these roles. Surveillance, broker service, liaison of court, change agent intervention. The next bullet point, provide supporting evidence from, dare I say it again, credible sources, or I can put the same thing, citations. And then professional language, spelling, grammar. Make sure you have a cover page as well. And above all, be sure you submit your papers on time as a Word document, as it says here. Okay. Let's go look at the rubric right quick before we go on. So you see my column that I teach from. Anybody remember what column I teach from? Type it in the chat. What column do I teach from? Mastery, absolutely. That's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to be. Please, it's important that you do that for your well-being and for your future advancement and opportunities. When people interview you, just like Bethany interviewed Madison, she first of all considered my statements and opinions about the work that she's done so far, and then she talks to the student or communicates with the student through her system, and then decides that she wants to hire. And trust me, she asked some pretty challenging questions. But I'm trying to show you something is that yeah, it is. It is excellence. Excellence is the goal. Even if you don't hit it, at least make that your intention. Excuse me a second. Make that your intention, you know. So I don't know too many people who bowl and always want to throw all their balls in the gutter. Just because you know what your score will be 0, 0, 0, 0. You know, but you want to get as close to 300 as possible. But something I have never rolled, but I've gotten close to it. But anyway, the point of the matter is that I always, whenever I'm out there, I'm shooting for that. Whatever it is you're doing in life, please. And so that should transfer over into your work ethic. And so I don't apologize for my work ethic because of the fact that it has done me well, and it has put me in a position to help young people to continue that as well. So starting with mastery, that's the column. Now I'm just going to show you. Look at what it says all the way down if you don't have credible sources. Do you go to proficiency, competence, or emerging? Which one? Which one? If you have no credible sources, emerging. And actually, that's a break because it says it in there. It says it in there in all sections of it. Missing, missing, missing. And then we get to the spelling and grammar stuff. But so, therefore, you could write a good paper, but if you don't have that, okay, if you have some supporting, you might end up here. If you have just a few, no, you don't want to end up over. That's C's. That's C's. You want to be in the A's and the B's. You want to be here. So that's why I'm trying to show you the importance. It's right here in front of you. You cannot miss it. It's that's why we use the rubric. And you know what? It's not me who then determines your grade. It's you because you said I don't have the credible sources, or credible sources are references. I already corrected that early on. Citations in the body and or just put it another way, APA format. And that tells you right there. Exemplary summary of the continuum of probation officer duties with supporting credible sources for where you get that information. Description of the roles with the same exemplary examples of probation officer work with thorough supporting evidence from credible sources. And then you got your spelling typos, and you got everything in line, and you end up with 100. By the way, somebody asked me, well, when I get 100, do you let me know what I did? I says, yeah, by giving you the 100. That means that that means that you provided this, this, and this. So the results is your grade. Okay. If you don't provide that credible sources, it takes the foundation out from under you. And look at it. 55, 55, 55. So when your grade comes out at 55, you have messed up. Or either I've seen students get 55, 55, 55, and then they get 100% here over with the spelling and typos and stuff like that, but they still fail because you're going to be like in either early 60s or 50s. You don't operate that way. Don't, don't, don't make that your way. All right. Any questions about the assignment? Because I am going to discuss some of those things. Okay. I saw something that I missed. Get to the chat box. Let's see what. Can you use sources that you would use or suggest that we make a better paper? I don't know what that means. Help clarify. Can you use certain sources that you would suggest? Or that would, oh, okay, no, the sources I are basically found in the library and learning center, and you can get the information as a start from your reading and do further research. I'll tell you someplace else. This is a good one here for you, Shannon. Your jurisdiction, probation officers, and that may not necessarily be the same in every state. It depends on the county. I think Shannon, you're here, right? You're in Chicago, right? I think I'm right. Let me see. Let me pull it down. I think I'm right. Yeah, the governance stuff, organizational stuff, online library. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Roselle. Yeah. So you're in Cook, or some for people like to refer to, and I know why they do it because I'm from here, Crook County. Oh, that's DuPage. Okay, same thing. Probation departments in the area that you're in, the DuPage County Probation Department. You can find that from your government websites and things like that as well. You know, I have students that want to be probation officers and understand that when you're a probation officer, one of the things that is so important for you to be aware of is that you can't be a probation officer. Um, Wait a minute, did I see something? Did I see that Denise? Oh, Denise is in Hanover Park. Yeah, I know what that is too. Uh, and then yeah, Madison. I know where you are. You're in the cold climates. You're the polar north. Fargo. Yeah, well, we got one campus there. Uh, yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, I know. I know. I've never been there, but I got friends and people, yeah, you can Zoom. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff you can do to find good information about that. Okay. All right. Good question, though. Very good question. Excellent answers too. I got smart people in this class. So. All right. Let's move on. Discussion. Intermediate sanctions. We're going to talk about what those are, but you're going to be a probation officer in a county, and then you're going to deal with these things, and then you're going to talk about these individuals here, and then you're going to write your initial post. Some people have already done it, but remember, you can't see a discussion post until you post first. So, and you already know, just to repeat once again, is your initial post is due tomorrow night, Tuesday, and your reply post is due Saturday. Saturday. Okay. All right. Then you have your quiz. We already talked about that. I will not click on it. I clicked on it last time and somebody saw it. But anyway, the point of the matter is that you want to make sure that you study before you take that quiz. Then your live classroom recording, which right now is no use to you guys because you're here. But people who aren't here and they go in the module, that's another place where they can get here by clicking on that. And if you clicked on that before I started and it was after 7, it'll say the waiting room or whatever that is. So yeah, we haven't let you in yet. No, because the professor has not arrived yet. All right. So then we're going to talk about tonight the law of corrections, the Bill of Rights, corrections law, which ties in to that, sentencing and sanctions, and then the evolving role of the probation officer. And then you have your vocabulary review yourself. All right. So let's talk about corrections and prisoner rights. As you already know, pretty much what we're going to talk about is the structure of our legal system, is that it consists primarily of the constitutions. Now, the U.S. Constitution is the premier constitution, but almost every jurisdiction has a constitution in itself, and it sets out the law of the land as U.S. Constitution, and also tells you how the government is set up. You have three branches consisting of the legislative, which we call Congress, which consists of the House and the Senate, 435 members of Congress and 100 of the Senate. And then executive is the president of the United States. In local terms, it's the governor of states, and the counties, county president, and the cities or municipalities, the village president or mayor. And then the courts. The United States Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the land, and jurisdictions have state courts that are also Supreme Courts. They have a Court of Appeals or appellate courts, and then they also have courts of first jurisdiction, as we refer to them as trial courts. Okay, and then all law is statutes. It's codified using the laws passed by the legislatures at all levels of government, federal, state, and local. You have your federal United States Code, USC it's called. It's where the federal laws are. The individual states, you have various states. Every state has a code, and then local laws for the municipalities as well. Be aware that none of these should overrule the Supreme Court and violate the rights of individuals under the Constitution. Should not. And then case law. Cases are based on decisions that go to the trial court and then are appealed, and based upon what we call stare decisis. It's a Latin phrase which means previous rulings, and we call them precedents, not presidents. Precedent, a legal principle in which decisions are made in similar cases. That's stare decisis, but it's called precedent, and that's how the system is set up. Then you have regulations that are up under agencies, like the Environmental Protection Agency. You might have Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and all the various local, federal, state administrative agencies. And these regulations implement the policies under which those agencies operate. Okay. So the Bill of Rights consists of the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And then there are a few cases that relate to prisoners under the First Amendment, which is basically the freedom of speech, freedom of religion. So that freedom of press doesn't necessarily apply to inmates, but freedom of speech and freedom of religion pretty much. And you see from 62 to 2006, the various court decisions that have allowed the First Amendment to be applied or litigated in courts. And these cases went to the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court issued rulings recognizing. It's surprising that it only until 62 were the Muslims recognized as a faith. Then censorship of mail, and then you go to 87, another Muslim case, when it said the rights are not violated when work makes it impossible for them to attend religious services if no other alternative exists. Individuals in prison use religion sometimes to get certain dietary foods. We understand there's some that, like there was one religion, I can't remember what it was. We discussed this a long time ago, I think in law school, that the belief was that they should only have steak and chicken. But I say, okay, so what's that all about? You know, we kind of chuckled at it, but it, you know, we know it is not the not Muslims. We know it's not Indian people from India, because the cow is sacred. That's where the term "holy cow" came up. Harry Carey did not create that term. Those of you who are from Chicago or either St. Louis know what I'm talking about. Um, yeah. So there are prison policies that say certain magazines, newspapers should not be given. For example, you're not going to give sexually explicit magazines to inmates and things of that nature as well. Then the Fourth Amendment, that's a good old search and seizure, which means that while you're in jail and prison, you can be searched, your room can be searched, you can be strip searched. They don't have to have warrants to check cells and things like that. Basically, you lose a lot of your privacy rights that you might have under the Fourth Amendment if you were not there. The Eighth Amendment, the cruel and unusual punishment, which has to do with imposing fines or denying people medical needs, is on cruel and unusual punishment because it violates the Eighth Amendment. Uh, Conditions of confinement in Texas prisons were decided as being unconstitutional. You'd have to look at that case to see what they're talking about. Double selling and crowding don't constitute cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, the reason is because it's done sometimes because it's economically the only way it can go. But if it's done wantonly and to inflict pain or grossly disproportionate to the crime that the person committed, like for example, you went to jail for a nonviolent offense and they put you in a cell with a Hannibal Lecter type dude, you know. So I was laughing because Anthony Hopkins, as some of you may know, played Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, and he was dating what's her name? The I know her name and I can't think of it. She went to prison for um, tipping off. Shoot, I know her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Somebody might come up with it. But anyway, they were dating each other, and she said that she had to break up with him because she couldn't separate him from Hannibal Lecter. What's the lady's name that she went to jail for tipping off in stock trades and has all kinds of stuff. You guys know who I'm talking about. And so anyway, that's a little diversion. But anyway, the point of the matter is that cruel and unusual punishment uh, does exist there. Okay. And then the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is a statute or amendment that came to apply to the states what the federal government was already doing. And so in 1968, in Alabama, used to segregate whites from blacks. It says it's unconstitutional because they wanted to try to keep. Now, you can segregate people if they're, you know, tending to attack each other and stuff like that. But generally, you can't just do it for just because you want to separate people. The basic elements of procedural due process have to be provided. That is the right to be knowledgeable of what you're charged with and the details and those kind of things. So these are just some of the cases that take place. All right. Bill of Rights. As I already told you, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And I'm just going to glean through this because you can go through this. But here it is. It starts with case law examples, and it lists some cases, and it tells you what those cases really mean. Warrantless search of a petitioner's residence was reasonable, and we already talked about that a few minutes ago, because it was conducted to a special need in the system. Evidence that would be barred by the exclusionary rule, that is the fruit of poisonous tree and stuff like that, that was illegally obtained, in a criminal case can be used in a parole revocation hearing, okay? Because the reason is the standard of proof is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but a preponderance of the evidence. You have some more cases. Excuse me. Probation has a right to counsel, and revocation sentencing hearings before a deferred sentence is imposed. That was the MINFA. And then the infamous Morrissey versus Brewer, which basically set out that parolees have a right to be notified of the charges. That's due process in action. That's what it really is. Present witnesses, speak on their behalf, confront the witnesses. At the revocation hearing, you receive notice and able to cross-examine and those kinds of things. Gagnon versus Scarapelli established, remember what in parolees in Morrissey versus Brewer was parole. Gagnon is probation, the same thing. Okay. So in other words, it extended those rights to those individuals. 1983 is a section of the United States Code that deals with civil rights of individuals, means that the means for incarcerated individuals to bring lawsuits against correction officials applies not only to incarcerated, but to those on probation and parole. That's the good old Cooper versus Pate case. There were some 1983 floodgate cases, we call them, where people were filing, and then they passed a statute, which I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, to limit the number of lawsuits, because what was happening, guys, is that there was frivolous lawsuits filed, and it would flood the court system and really create havoc. Okay, and that's the end of that. I think I did this one. This is the one I think I just did. Or is this not the other one? Oh no, this is the 4 foundations. Okay, we already talked about this, so we won't go into that. All right. All right. And so then there's a knowledge check that you can do yourself. And you read these questions: which of the following legal foundations is false? The U.S. Constitution, the supreme law of the United States of America that delineates national frame of government, including 3 branches, and then it tells you what the 3 are. Regulations made by federal, state, and local agencies, usually set by agencies for executive branch. Case law, laws passed by the legislature. Okay, which one of these is wrong? Come on. Come on, you know. Which one of these is wrong? Which one of these is not right? Nobody? Thank you, Shannon. Of course, laws passed by the legislature. Didn't we talk about case law being stare decisis based upon cases from the courts? So the answer is yes. And when you click on this and you submit it, it says laws passed by the legislature at all levels of federal government. You know, That's case law. Case law. Laws passed by the legislature at all levels. That's correct. It is false. It's not correct, but it is false. You got what I'm saying there. Okay. The U.S. Constitution of the United States consists of, the branches. The two that are missing are what? Yep. And what the President of the United States, is that the legislative branch or the executive branch? Okay. And the House and the Senate is the legislature. Okay. And you know, anyway, I didn't type in, but you already know. So anyway, these are little things that can help you out a little bit. All right. Go back. Yeah, we did that one. I forgot. See, I forgot already. I'm trying to make sure I get you. Okay, now. So sentencing. Here's how sentencing works. Excuse me. When you're sentenced based upon the offenses. And be aware that there are two dividing lines between crimes. The lesser, not severe crimes are called misdemeanors, which means that you could be sentenced for up to a year. If you are sentenced for a year or above, that is what we call a felony. And so there are several results that can result in when an individual is sentenced from fines to serving jail time. And these are just some of them. And if you were to click on them, fines and restitutions, it shows you where that falls in that spectrum there. Okay. And then you got community service work, drug and alcohol treatment, day reporting, drug control, home confinement, shock incarceration, and boot camp. So there could be a variety of offenses. The key thing is that what we want to do is to be able to help that individual to serve them. And it depends on the type of offense that they commit as to which one of these might apply. Okay. So you go all the way from fines to serving in the community, all the way down to boot camp. Boot camp is when we take, I've had some clients that had to go to boot camp because they didn't get the message. And they were shocked when they had to get up early in the morning and they were forced to dot every I and cross every T. They learn how to respect authority. That's the key right there. Okay, so that's the continuum there. Let me say this. The idea is not to lock everybody up, but to help people that could be helped and under probation. With probation, as you should be aware, is that the individuals are not behind bars. They serve it in the community. And I'm going to show you the evolving role. We got a little late start, so it's 8 now. So give me a few minutes and I'll have this done. The overview of the role of probation officer. Now this will help you with your assignment that you have. Probation roles. And it tells you what the roles of probation officers are today. You're going to be doing a lot of things, almost like a counselor, so to speak. You're going to hold that individual accountable. And your goal is to help that individual that not to commit crimes, And that enhances what we call public safety, because individuals are under supervision. They have to report to the probation officer, and the probation officer includes supervision and surveillance, almost like a law enforcement officer. However, one of the key things is you want to operate under what we call restorative justice philosophies. That is, philosophies that prepare that individual to enter back into the community. Okay, and things have changed in both of these. So let's take a look at something here. So responsibilities and the timelines for all the way from the 80s, when these were some of the duties, dealing with investigations, court appearance, and stuff like this. So we're gonna, you see gradually, in addition to these things, say 1996, by then, it changed to all the duties, plus now you're adding these types of things. There's some ideas that you're getting here, but please don't cite this. Just find out what it is. And then moving up to 2009, again, all the previous duties plus. And what happens if you look at what's moving forward is that individuals are picking up more and more responsibilities. Thus, to today, all those duties, plus you get to the point that basically you're a counselor. You're a counselor. Now, that is why you cannot become a probation officer without a bachelor's degree. I don't know of any jurisdictions. If you know of some, please let me know. But most jurisdictions I know that it is a prerequisite to becoming a probation officer because of all these tasks that are given to you. You're not a babysitter, but you got a little counseling there involved, okay? A lot of counseling. You're helping the individual with their employment opportunities, housing, and things like that. Basically, what you're doing is you're getting them, you're trying to help them to get from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You know what that means. Okay, then the change agent aspects of it is, which means that the probation officer and parole officer, not only are they responsible for public safety, but also for working individually with offenders to help with skills, which is what I was talking about earlier, and address the criminal thinking. In other words, to redirect their thinking process so that they will not be recidivists. And that's it there. And then your vocabulary review. You begin doing a knowledge check, and you can do that on your own, but I'm just showing you there. This is a knowledge check for what we talked about. A judicial policy of non-interference concerning the internal administration of prisons. This is it. You thought it was it too, didn't you? That was not it. I did that on purpose. Let's go back. I want to show you why I said that. Because a whole lot of my students, they picked that one every time. So a judicial policy of non-interference concerning the internal administration. That is wrong. The answer is case law. And the reason why it's case law, because it's based upon the decisions that come up before the court. Not what you might think it would be. You have to be careful with some of these questions. This one is easier. The Constitution guarantee that no agent or instrumentality will use any procedures other than those procedures prescribed by law. What do we call that? What do you think it is? Anybody want to take a shot? Okay, let me tell you what it's not. It's not case law. So which one of these two is it? Which one? A constitutional. Does that sound like hands off or due process? Sound like it to me. That's why I said constitutional. That is. That's exactly right. So you go through those. I'm not going to do all of them. So you can do those yourself. But you begin to see um, where we are at. Okay, I am done. Any questions? Nobody know why I'm laughing? What's the overall thing that we're dealing with today? How about probation? No, the overall thing is probation. Probation. You were right already, Madison. It was probation. Remember, let me show you something. Watch this. Watch this. What's the title of module 4? Probation. Written assignment. Probation officer. Then we come down. Prisoner rights, community rights. But the key thing that we're dealing with is the probation officer. That's what your written assignments are dealing with. Intermediate sanctions, but look who executes them. Probation. So probation or probation officer. So that's why I was laughing. That's why I was laughing. Somebody would think I told Madison before class what the phrase is, so you'd be ready to give it. I haven't talked to Madison, but but it is. It is. It's give me either probation or probation officer, one or the other. Hey guys, I love you guys. Uh, and it's really good. It's really good. You guys look like you thank you. You're welcome. You guys have become a close knit group. You three, Denise, Madison, and Shannon, and you guys are in there every week, and keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. I appreciate it. Number one, and number two, I hope you appreciate the information that I try to impart to help you to go there. So, well, I'm going to say good night to you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Hey, how many people watch football this weekend? Anybody watch football this weekend? Not you. Denise says her husband does. Bears now, Bears now. The only thing I've been watching for the Bears is who our new coach is going to be. Hey, my friend may come back. Leslie Frazier, who was by the way, the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and they have the number one defense in the NFL. Played for the Bears. He played in the Super Bowl, and I got to know him because he was the football coach at the school I went for seminary, Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, and then he went to the Vikings He was a coach with the Vikings for a little while too. You may not know that. So the Vikings aren't in there. You sound like my cousins. Super Bowl Shuffle. Yeah, 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 yeah. We are the Bears shuffling through, shuffling on down, doing it for you. My name is. Those are my guys. I was invited, by the way, to the Super Bowl Shuffle when it was recorded, because I knew Willie Gault, Speedy Willie, on that team. And then all those guys on that team, I knew every one of them. But I had to go to court. I couldn't get anybody to take my place. I was so mad. But still the best video in sports. Yeah. You run Walter Payton's Hill? Oh, wow. Okay, so that means you live up near Buffalo Grove, right? Yeah. Uh, that Walter's house used to be in Arlington Heights right there. I used to go with him to watch. Now it's a golf course, right? It's a hill and it's in the golf course. Nickel Knoll, that's right. And I remember when I used to go and he'd say, "Here, count for me." And Walter would run up the hill and then go down the hill. And then he'd come up backwards and go down backwards. He'd do that 50 times each way. He did that every day, but game day, and Ditka told him he couldn't do it game day. But Walter that's why he was in such top condition. Yeah, man, I know that place intimately. In, Invincible, absolutely right. Yeah, that was my friend. That was my friend. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm not going to hold you hostage anymore, but I got now what's left. The Packers are out. Oh, well. I didn't cry about that. Tampa Bay is out. I didn't cry about that. But I was pulling for KC and and the, the Rams. So the Rams, I think, are going to play this Sunday, the 49ers, I think it is. I think I'm right. He was. One of my friends, uh, Tyler Lancaster from Northwestern and from Plainfield, actually graduated with my son Richard, is on that team, is on the Packers, and so I felt bad for him, but not for Aaron. Okay, I'm getting off subject, but yeah. So I got this week. You can't go wrong with Mahomes. You can't. I don't care what you think. He's awesome. He's awesome. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen. So good night, guys. I'll see you next Monday for week number 5. Now, does anybody know something about next week's lecture that you should be aware of? It's going to be the same time. How about this? That's the last lecture for the course. That's it. And that I will be discussing week 5, and then I will close out with week 6. So we're coming down, if anybody knows anything about horse racing, it was a guy named Phil George F. You said you're spinning out of the turn and coming into the stretch. And I think he was either at Arlington Park or when they had horses there or one of those places. And he was Phil George F. was his name. So anyway, that's what we're doing. We're spinning out of the turn and going into the stretch. Good night, guys. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. See you next Monday.